can find it. Where was it? It was about, where would you say, Brian? Around here somewhere. Oh, amazing. It's probably covered in sand if it is a slug that's been flung around like that. So it's going to look very similar to a stone. So I'm just going to check very carefully. Oh dear. Now this is a challenge. Okay. I'm trying to see if I can see any footprints of where the barbet was feeding. It's definitely out in one of these little open patches. I see some scrapes there. Don't think it's that far, huh? Maybe it was over here. Oh, well done. It is a slug. Now, the barbet's just taken very few little chomps out of it. There you go. Now, I wonder if the slug can survive from this. I think it might be able to, depending. You can see there's a big chunk out the bottom there. Another chunk out the top. Still very much alive. You can see it moving. Now, I think the slug might survive that mauling by a barbet. Oh, there's another chunk out on the top there. One shame. Let's put him back on the ground. Put him in the grass. Might have a bit better chance. That's interesting. I've never heard of barbets eating slugs, and you can see didn't really like it too much and abandoned it. Okay, I just want to check this boundary quickly. Have a quick squiz around the corner. Oh! There's a nice bird for the February list. Really nice one. Paradise Whydah. Oh, aren't they beautiful? Flying around with that big tail of theirs. But he's disappeared. I think he's just on top of that. There he is. Very, very pretty bird. Now, of course, they don't have that tail during the winter months. They become very brown and drab. So, all that coloration, and that big tail, all to attract the ladies. Listen, you can hear that very high-pitched call. So the long-tailed Paradise Whydah. So just quickly here, show you what I mean. So we've seen him, what he looks like, and that's what he looks like in the summer months. So it loses a lot of that color and that massive tail. But isn't that beautiful? Okay, well, what a nice little birding surprise. Let's go to Jamie, who's got something that's far bigger than a bird.
Definitely far bigger and definitely shorter on feathers. We finally managed to catch up with our elephant herd. Now this morning there are lots of vehicles that want to spend time with the Nkuhumas, so we've left them for now. We'll try and get back there a little bit towards the end of the sunrise safari. But what a lovely surprise. Finally our elephant herd reunited with us once again, and most definitely no longer as stressed as they were before. When I first saw them this morning, they were sprinting across the road, tails stiff, looking thoroughly unimpressed with life, and they've definitely calmed down, which does make me think that perhaps they encountered that male lion, or had a look at that, or maybe smelt that male lion, and that caused a great degree of distress with the various elephants of this herd. But they've now stopped their feeding, tails are swishing and soft peacefully, ears flapping gently. No sign of stress with these elephants, although they're about to walk into the Nkuhumas. So you just never know. If they decide now to go towards Buffelshoek Dam, they're going to get a very surprising encounter. It might be worth sticking around in this area just to see how this all plays out, and if they do decide to go in that direction. On these live safaris, you just never know exactly what direction or what turn the drive is going to take. We are going to be taking a very short break, but don't go anywhere. Don't leave your seats. Well, you can leave your seats as long as you're back before we return. Who knows? These elephants might just bump into the pride of lions. We'll catch up with you very shortly. A big herd of elephants feeding in an area is going to cause a little bit of damage, so they tend to move around as they feed. It very much depends upon the animal's movements. But a big bull elephant in particular, look at this, sorry. Oh, you are what's making them unhappy, mister. This bull on the left is young still. I don't know why he's causing such distress with that female. Oh, excuse me. Sorry. Feeling very allergy-stricken this morning. We all are. It's a young bull. I don't know why he's upset her so much, but he might be a contributing factor for all of her disgruntled nature. What were we talking about? Oh yes, distance. Often tracking a bull elephant, sometimes you see their tracks and they're looking very fresh, and you think, oh, that's perfect, I'm going to find this bull elephant, and you spend the next 5 hours trying to catch up with the thing. Just because when your legs are 2 meters long, it does make for quite a long stride. And even when an elephant is just strolling, they cover distance tremendously quickly. And of course, there's the added fact that even at night, they tend to move around, not as much as they would during the day, but they will be mobile and moving around and about at night as well. Adult elephants don't sleep all that much. Oh, yum, she's got a mouthful of mistletoe there, by the looks of things. Here's this bull, causing havoc. He's not that big. She's bigger than he is. So I don't know why it is that she's... perhaps he's just at the stage where she's about to kick him out of this herd. Ethan, in Florence, you want to know how big elephants tend to get. Well, Ethan, the record, let's start with the record and then move backwards from there. The record is a 12-ton elephant. I think it was from Angola, if I'm not mistaken. 12 tons, which is, what's that, 25,000, 26,000 pounds? That's an absolute, 25,000 pounds. That's an absolutely massive animal, and was at least 4 meters or 12 feet at the shoulder. Obviously, that is a record breaker. Generally, for the females, you're looking at about 3 or so tons, maybe 4 tons, and for a big bull, maybe 6 or 7 tons, but your average is sitting around 3 to 4 tons for an elephant. So they don't generally get as large as the record breaker. And then in terms of shoulder height, 3 meters? No, let's say a little bit higher, 3.5 meters. So around about 10 or 11 feet at the shoulder. Naturally, they are absolutely massive animals. Hey Skip, lovely to hear from Skip, who is 11 years old. Skip, I hope you're having fun on your live safari drive. Skip, you want to know how strong their trunk is. Skip, their trunk is unbelievably strong. I read somewhere recently that an elephant's trunk can pick up something easily 200 kilograms. So over 400 pounds. From the ground, an elephant can pick that up with just its trunk, which is astounding when you think about it, because the trunk itself probably only weighs about 300 pounds. And that's because it's made up of lots and lots and lots of different muscles. 6 major muscle groups and around about 150,000 other smaller muscles There you go, look, she's giving you a demonstration of how strong her trunk is, lifting that branch out of the way. So they are very powerful, and they use their trunk for all kinds of things. And that's what's so amazing about it, is the trunk can be used, they can pick up a coin that is on a flat surface. So the tips, the prehensile tips, are so sensitive that they could pick up a coin off the ground. Isn't that incredible to think of that? And at the same time, they can use those trunks to break an enormous branch and crack it in half. The trunk is probably the most unique thing about what is a truly unique animal. Here she is, munching away on the fresh green grass. What a lovely, lovely morning this is. Welcome back to all of you that have been absent, which is of course none of you, because all of these are imaginary TV breaks. But just for the benefit of those of you that have just joined, my name is Jamie. This morning VM is on camera with me, and you are on a live safari from the middle of the African bush, to be more specific, a place called Djuma Private Game Reserve, which is in the Greater Kruger National Park area of South Africa, where already this morning we've seen lions, we've seen elephants, we've got an exciting bushwalk with Stef, and of course James, who is absolutely not chopped liver in the tent, will have been keeping you all thoroughly entertained. And don't forget, on your live safari, that you can send through your questions. You could do that using the hashtag SafariLive on Twitter. There is some exciting news. It seems as though Brent has found one of the most endangered and unusual creatures of the bush.
Yes, we have the ground hornbills. There's actually 4 of them. There's 2 sitting in this dead tree and 2 sitting in a marula tree to the south of us. Isn't that gorgeous? Now they're probably trying to dry off a bit. They've been feeding in the long grass. And we're on the southern plains of Cheetah Plains, and we are being serenaded by the monotonous larks. Constant call we're hearing behind us. Oh, he's cleaning his beak. Oh no, it might be checking under. Now that looks to be the male up top. Let's have a look. Actually look like they're both males. So what we're looking for is the casque. Now the casque is that sort of extra bit on top of the bill, but also the males have a much more pronounced sort of throat sac, that red skin underneath. It is so rare that we get such a fantastic sighting of them sitting out in the open like that. So with 2 males, they're either brothers or dad and son. Oh, and the light's coming through beautifully. So it's more unusual to see them in a tree like this. So they spend 70% of the daylight hours on the ground. Now, because they're so big and they flush so much while they're hunting, other bird species such as carmine bee-eaters and dark chanting goshawks will actually follow them while they hunt through the grass to try get anything that's disturbed by them. And the reason they're so endangered is mostly due to habitat loss. Also, they have a very unsuccessful breeding program, and any small disturbances can actually make them abandon their nest. And only 50% of breeding pairs successfully actually lay eggs, and then only 30% of those chicks will survive. They lay 2 eggs, and the first fledgling that hatches will outcompete the second fledgling, which normally dies in a week, and then will sometimes be eaten as well by its sibling. Now, it's not uncommon in birds, especially predatory birds, and it's called siblicide, or the slightly nicer, fancier version is Cain and Abel syndrome. Now, the biggest group of, or the biggest population of ground hornbills in South Africa is the Greater Kruger. There's estimated to be between 600 and 700 individual birds. But remember, that is in 8.5 million acres. So maths is not my strong point, but if you do the maths and work out, in 8.5 million acres, there's only 700 individuals at the top end. Now, JC is wondering, do they stay together for life? The breeding pair does, normally. Now, they've got quite an interesting dynamic. So the chicks will stay with their parents for 10, sometimes 15 years before striking out on their own. And it is a very interesting sort of, there's quite a lot of scientific research done on them because they are so threatened. Well, they're both having a scratch at the same time. And a chick that leaves its natal group or parents before it's 8 to 10 years old has a very low success rate when it comes to breeding. So it seems they have to learn how to really look after chicks and from their parents. Now, of course, the whole group will feed mom while she's in the nest, and also feed the sub-adult. Now, the sub-adult, till it's about 4 years old, has yellow coloration around the face and the neck where that bare skin is. Because they're very long-lived. They live up to about 40 years. They can eat quite big stuff. They really like snakes and lizards, but they have even been recorded eating scrub hares. Itchy, yeah. Oh, they are incredible looking. And you can see the gap through the bill there. Now they'll eat baby ground nesting birds, they'll eat their eggs. It looks like they're still enjoying the sun, getting rid of all the dampness that they got earlier from being on the ground. Oh, do you hear that, Brian? There's another one calling. I want to see if these two are going to respond. There we go. Watch the guy on the right. It's a very soft call compared to their normal call. Can we hear it, Brian? Beautiful. Now they're both calling. Now the others are responding, the ones we can't see. It is one of my favorite sounds. It's actually quite unusual for them to call this late in the morning. Normally sunrise and sunset. Magical. We got quite the cacophony of bird calls going. We've got that stunning grand hornbill, the incessant monotonous lark, quack quack quack, Swanson's spurfowl, Hi Lynn. Lynn is wondering how far their call travels. Quite a distance then. I would say from a human ear, probably 5 kilometers. It's that deep tone. We also hear rattling testiculars, weavers, go-away birds, buntings, oh, it's getting louder. Now, Cheryl is wondering what the wingspan is. I'll try and find out for you. I'd say it's probably close on 2 meters. Now, heavy birds, males weighing up to 5 kilograms. Yeah, the wingspan just under 2 meters. Oh, you're being so wonderfully serenaded. It should get louder now that they face us. Now this is a territorial calling. So in the same way lions will call to notify all other lions that this is their territory, so do hornbills. The one on the right seems to have a deeper voice. Oh, I made a mistake. That's a female. And the males do have a deeper voice, so that is a female. Now, I didn't see that earlier. She's got a very prominent, but that blue underneath her neck there is what tells me it's a female. The males lack the blue. So you can hear the deeper voice of the male. So just based on the calls I'm hearing, I can hear 2 males and of course the 1 female. What a special sighting, being serenaded by one of the most endangered birds in South Africa. Now, while they continue to proclaim their dominance over the open plains, let's go to Stef, who's playing in another puddle.
We are not playing in a puddle, we are playing close to my favorite ant colony. This is the largest trap-jaw ant colony that we have, that I've ever found, at least anyway. And I mean ever, I've never found one as big as this. And we're busy having a look and having a visit, mainly because the combination of the dry weather and the rain has washed away all the leaves and things around the entrance to their nest, and we're able to see around their entire nest. And no matter where we've been walking around this area, the termites are coming in from all points of the compass, coming back into their nest, carrying a variety of different things, mainly termites. We have seen one carrying an ant. They mainly feed on termites, these particular ants. They're specialist termite feeders. But what they don't do is go out en masse. They don't attack a termite colony as a group. What they do is they fan out every day. The ants would fan out, and this, what's funny about it is the same ant, for its lifespan, which is only a couple of days, will come out of the nest in exactly the same direction and go and fan out in exactly their vector that they did the day before. And they will do that every single day for their entire life. They won't go to the other side of the clock. So, for instance, if a trap-jaw ant comes out facing me and walks off in that direction throughout the day, it'll do that every single day until it dies. It won't go out in that direction just because it feels like that day. Isn't that incredible? And that's how the ants do it. Obviously, being around for the couple of 100 million years that they have been means that it works for them, and that's why they do it. But it doesn't make much sense, hey? But they cover ground. They will be foraging as much as what they can in every nook and cranny, looking for mostly harvested termites. Now, Jean-Andre, he doesn't enjoy coming to visit this particular colony because they make for incredibly difficult subjects to film. And as you can imagine, as you're seeing the fruits of his labors, it's not an easy thing to look at the sand and hope against hope that something will walk through the frame, which is what he's trying to do now. What you're looking at there is the trap-jaw ant, my favorite of all the ants out here. It's just so nice to visit. Alright, what else are we looking for at the moment? We're still busy tracking those hyenas, and they are moving still in this direction. It's quite funny, you know, that den where we found the other day on walk, which was close to Elephant Skull Road, I think. That particular den, on the junction of Weaver's Nest, that particular den had definitely been excavated. But these hyena tracks are not moving in that direction. These hyena tracks are moving straight towards Buffelshoek Dam. So I wonder if those lions were not chasing around something there last night, and the hyenas were responding to see if the lions had managed to catch anything. But so far we're following these hyena tracks. They're going off towards Buffelshoek Dam. We at Pan at the moment. There in actual fact is the Pan, and we're going to walk across there. There's a crossing that goes across there. We're going to walk across that crossing in a little bit. But before we do, I want to walk off in this direction. There's a drainage line off here to my left, and I'm looking for a sneezewood tree. I'm looking for a sneezewood tree because the property of the wood that gives it, that makes it so sneeze inducing, is an oil. And I was reading up on it the other day, and if you take a file and you file the sneezewood tree, oh, hang on, what is all this? An old impala kill. I didn't even know that this was here. So this looks like an impala. It's big enough for an impala. Just the skull basically here with the vertebra, the neck vertebra, and then a couple of the bigger bones here has either been dragged into this position or has been lying here the whole time. I just have never noticed it. Wow, okay. No real evidence as to what killed it. Probably a drought victim, just looking at how old the actual skeleton is. Even though the rain should have scoured it clean by now, the buffalo carcasses that have been lying around here that have been that did die in the drought, they definitely have been cleaned up. I wonder what actually killed this. You never know. Not much more clues going around. Anyway, I'm looking for a sneezewood tree, so I want to get some sawdust from the sneezewood tree, and I want to sniff it up into my head. Apparently the sneezes that they produce are delicious. That's how it was described to me in this book, that the sneezewood, snuffing sneezewood sawdust induces delicious sneezing. And I am absolutely intrigued as to what a delicious sneeze is. So I'm looking for a sneezewood tree. I'm going to get some sawdust from it. I'm going to sniff it into my head, and I'm going to see if A, it produces a sneeze, and then B, if the sneeze that it produces is delicious. And this is a pretty good drainage line for sneezewood trees. It gets a lot better further down, I must be honest with you. But we should be able to find at least one here. Whether we find it now or in the next half an hour is yet to be determined, but we will get it. As always, the flies are out in force. So here's the drainage line. Here's the drainage line here. And along the edges of these drainage line is where we find these sneezewood trees. So I'm hoping that we'll find one pretty soon, and I can show you what I want to show you. In the meantime, why don't we send you over to James for an update.
Here is Matilda the mantis. Hello, Matilda. Hello, James. Matilda, I'd like to look at you under the microscope, if that's all right. Would that be all right? Okay. Pick me up. Give me your finger to climb onto. Okay, I will. Now, this is the same thing that Stef was looking at earlier, the saw-backed flower-manted. And what I wanted to do, Matilda's been very patient, I must just tell you. She's been waiting here very patiently for some time. And now I'm going to try and show you her quite astounding head. There we are. Is that not beautiful? That's what she looks like. And you can see everything is very delicate. I don't know if you were watching yesterday, but we had a kill with the mantis. It wasn't a saw-backed flower manted, it was a kind of flower manted. But it caught a fly, and those very delicate mouth parts were astounding, the way they tore it limb from limb. It bit off the legs, then it actually sucked out the eyes first, then bit off the legs, then discarded the wings, and then went for what was ever in the abdomen. Oh, look, it's cleaning itself. Isn't this wonderful? That is brilliant. Kirsten says it's moving around a bit much. It's not my hand moving, the mantis is moving, Kirsten. She's so hypercritical. Then you can see the spikes, the defensive spikes there. Doing a lot of cleaning. I think this is just wonderful. Anyway, this astounding mantis, we'll take it back out once it's finished doing its cleaning here. Matilda the mantis. I wonder if we shouldn't strap her. Can you strap Matilda? I think she's going to be a very fine TV subject. While we're doing that, I must just tell you that the tree that Stef was talking about is one of the trees that I've learnt since I've been here at Djuma. And I've had to say its Latin name many, many times in order to remember it. Here we go. There's Matilda's strap. See that, Matilda? Isn't that cool? You've got your own strap. That's wonderful. She looks so happy that she's got her own strap. Look, she's smiling. is just the best. And it's the name is Pterozygium obliquum. And poor Scott and Stef were driven mad one afternoon. We went for a walk, the three of us, and Stef showed me the tree, and I said Pterozygium obliquum in every single sentence from the time we found it to the time we got home. And now I will never forget it. Pterozygium obliquum, the sneezewood. Right, let us put this back. I'll tell you where this chap has been. He's been on the same plant that he was on, or she was on, for the whole of last week. Now that means that she survived on the same plant that she was on for the whole cyclone. She got through the cyclone, through that torrential rain that we had, and the driving wind. Look, it wasn't quite cyclonic out here. Can you make it out here, David? You'll be all right, will you? And this is the plant she was sitting on. She was sitting on this leaf here, to which she's about to be returned. There we are, Matilda. And let us hope that she can just do one more night here so that we can have her for TV. Now this, of course, is the Waltheria bush, and many of you will have seen it. Well, all of you will have seen it if you've been watching the show for more than 3.5 seconds. And that's because it's all over the place. But this particular bush contains my very favourite little caterpillars of the acreas, and I was hoping that by the end of the TV show they would have turned into butterflies, but they haven't. There are many of them, though. Here's one here. Where's the big one, David? Can you see it anywhere? Well, there's one that's roughly the biggest size. Let me turn it here. Can you see that? Now that's about 1.5 inches long, and although they are growing with a slowness that would make a baobab tree look fast asleep, let me show you, they did start off growing quite a lot faster. Over here, we have the caterpillars that were last week only about 1/4 of the size they are now. They've quadrupled in size in 1 week on this Waltheria bush. And so over the course of 6 weeks, I imagine they're going to become very large indeed. And then, I don't know exactly what the sort of period is that they take to become larger ones, but I'm going to say it must be at least 2 months, because I think we started with the caterpillars in our 2nd or 3rd show, and we're about to hit, of course, the finale, the great finale. Then, just look over here. Can you see that?
The white thing.
Yeah, that white thing is the wing of a blue butterfly. And I think that blue butterfly met its end at Matilda's claws and very, very clever mouth parts. And I'm going to ask her very kindly to remain there until tomorrow. If you wouldn't mind, that would be great. Now, Jamie Patterson has left those lions, obviously. She is searching, scouring the landscape. What it is she's going to find, well, that's anyone's guess.
Anyone's guess, but I'm going to take an educated guess and hope that it is a Hyena Den site. That's my plan for the morning. So we'll go nice and slowly towards Gwen's den and see whether or not she's made an appearance. There are lots of people still waiting to see the Nkuhumas, so we've left that area for now. The elephants changed direction. They weren't going to go and bump into those lions anyway. So we've left them as well, because I did promise we'd go to the Hyena Den. And now it's time to fulfill that promise. So let us see whether or not Gwen is home. Oh, excuse me. I don't know. Something is making us all sneeze. Or at least Liam and I. The reason I come in every time, this is actually quite a long way round to get to the den site, but it does give us an opportunity to view the den from a distance, because Gwen's hyena cubs are the most skittish hyena cubs I have ever come across in my entire life. So they obviously grew up somewhere where there was no vehicles visiting them. They have absolutely no idea about safari vehicles, so that's why we're treating them with kid gloves, quite literally. Not literally. So that's not literally at all. But let us sneak around. I have nightmares every time I come around this corner now after Rusty's steering arm failure. I have flashes of our wheels pointing in opposite directions. But this is Wendy. Wendy's fine. Okay, somebody's been here already this morning, interestingly enough, judging by the vehicle tracks. Okay. Alright everybody, cross your fingers, hold your thumbs, do whatever it is you do for good luck, wherever you happen to be in the world. And let us see whether or not we're going to have any luck. Don't see any sign of spotty faces. Come on, Gwen. Revs nice and low. Okay. No hyena cubs have come shooting out of the den like little corks out of a champagne bottle, which is generally what happens when Gwen isn't here. They come running out and run away. I don't see any hyena tracks. I actually haven't seen any hyena tracks anywhere on Cheetah Cut Line. Good morning. Is anybody home? Hello? Aww. That looks decidedly empty to me. No sign of Gwen. No sign of little hyena cubs popping out. I don't think she's moved it. I'm not sure. I'm going to check around the back here to see whether or not there's any hyena tracks coming out. No luck today, everybody, unfortunately. We just haven't had much luck with Gwen and her cubs. Our timing, we keep missing each other. I don't see any of them. Generally, they run off into this thick vegetation off on the right. I don't see any sign of them. Darn. Oh well. We tried again. No luck. No sign of any hyenas. Let's just check round to the other entrance, but I don't think they use that one. But let us go and see. Been lots of rain. Oh, sorry, that was a really profound statement. Obviously, there's been lots of rain. It's quite a damp area here, is what I mean. And quite a few puddles. Oh, JC, you want to know whether or not hyena will actively change their routines. JC, I'm not quite sure exactly what you mean. They will change den sites. They will move about randomly wherever the mood happens to take them. So yes, I suppose in a way they will actively change their routine. They'll actively change their den sites as well to prevent the build-up of parasites. You know, hyenas are not clean animals. I don't see a single hyena track, you know. Not one. And hyenas, unlike leopards and lions, are heavy walkers. They leave very clear tracks even in mud or even in sand. There's not a... maybe. Skip! Hello, lovely to hear from Skip once again. Hello, Skip. You're watching in Texas. Skip, you want to know how they build their dens? Well, actually, Skip, the termites are the ones that originally build the dens. That's because they build their termite mounds. And then what will happen is something like an aardvark, for example. An anteater will come through and dig a hole in the termite mound, and then something else like a warthog might come along and make it their home, or a porcupine will dig out the holes and live in there, and then hyenas will come and take over. And from there, what will happen is when they give birth to cubs, the cubs have a natural instinct to excavate the den site. And what I mean by that is they will dig out little chambers and little cavities that they can hide into, that nothing big can creep in. And so that means that they're nice and safe tucked up in that den, because nothing can get to them. they can't get in. So even the adults, they might go into the entrance of the den, but even an adult hyena can't get all the way into the den site where the cubs are, which is why when we see the adults come back to a den site, they'll stand at the entrance to the den and they'll call to tell the cubs to come out, to tell them that it's safe to come out. And generally, if there's any kind of danger, the hyena cubs will rush into the den itself and hide away there. And speaking of excavators of termite mounds and animals that live in burrows, Stef has found signs for one of them.
We definitely have. This is the quill of a of a porcupine that literally we found sticking in the ground like that. I mean, no jokes. This is how we walked down this game path, and in the middle of the game path we found a collection of porcupine quills with one of them sticking in the ground, and it's quite a mystery as to exactly what transpired. Now, we don't see porcupines often because they're strictly nocturnal, but porcupines do make up quite a large portion of the diet of leopard in some areas in the country, especially the drier areas of South Africa. In this particular area, although we do see leopard and lion feasting on porcupine, it's not that common occurrence. And so when we see something like this, it's always a bit of a mystery as to why. The initial impression is, oh, but a leopard or a lion was trying to catch a porcupine and the porcupine shed some of its quills in order to get away. And that allows me to explain a little bit about porcupine quills. Now, there's a belief out there that porcupines can shoot these quills at a would-be predator. You can have a look at how tremendously robust these are. Have a look at how sharp those points are. And they can do a lot of damage to a lion or a leopard. And yes, very often we do see leopard and lion with quills straight through their face, straight through their lips, into the roof of their mouth. But porcupine can't shoot their quills. What they do is the quills are lodged on an erectile muscle in a bag of skin around their bodies, and they can, using that erectile muscle, they can spread their quills on their body, and then they can reverse very quickly at a predator. So that they'll put their head into a bush, and when they know the predator's behind them, they reverse very quickly, and the barbs or the quills stick in the predator and then are pulled out. And this is maybe what happened here, is that a lion or a leopard has come along with a couple of barbs in their face, and in pulling it out, they've shed these quills here and let these quills drop onto the floor. I can't see any tracks around here except for impala tracks, and because of that, there's also a good chance that the porcupine had a bit of an altercation with the impala. Not that the impala would eat the porcupines at all. What probably happened was the impala came around the porcupine, and then he shuffled around, and in the madness and the chaos of trying to get away, he lost some of his quills. But just have a look at this collection of quills that is lying just here. None of them have got bite marks in. I'm just having a look now. So I don't think that they were embedded, and none of them got blood on. So I don't think they were embedded in the face of a leopard or of a lion. I think they were just shed. What is interesting is this particular quill here hasn't split just yet. So it's a double quill that's ended up in a single point. Now these quills are just really just hair that has been fused together into these fairly flexible but quite strong quills. I mean, from that point of view, they're very strong. Now, Tim has just asked me an interesting question. Could you use these as arrows? I suppose you could. I suppose I'd rather use the point, say, in a dart of some sort, in a blowpipe, rather than an arrow. I think to go into something as thick-skinned as an impala or a kudu, you're going to need something a little bit more robust, say a piece of stone or a piece of bone, or if you can, a piece of steel as an arrow tip rather than a porcupine quill. But definitely porcupine quill I would use in a blowgun of some sort. I mean, you can see there, if you chopped off this particular porcupine quill there and you put a stick in it and wound some cotton around that, some wild cotton, you could definitely put that into a pipe and you could shoot it out. I'm sure it'll do some damage. That is incredibly sharp there. Look at my finger as a comparison there. Very nice. And of course, porcupine quills at the moment are one of those commodities in Africa that is being traded, so not as a pet but as an animal product, and porcupines are being mercilessly slaughtered all over this country and all over Africa, in fact, just for these quills, just for decoration. You know, I suppose I don't need to tell any of you watching this particular show, please don't buy porcupine quills. Now, Anna Marie, you wanted to know if I'm going to keep these quills. I think I will, actually, Anna Marie. I don't know what I'm going to do with them. I might hang on to them for a little bit and then put them down again. I have this tendency to pick up things thinking that I'd like to use them in the bush and then discarding them to lie around and do what they're supposed to do here in nature, inspire others, in other words. So I might just carry on. I quite enjoy this one. This is a very weird porcupine quill. This is the weirdest one I've ever seen. A fused porcupine quill. So fused at the base and fused at the top, but almost two distinct shafts in the middle. I've never seen something like that. And what I may do is take these to my friend James in the tent. We can have a look at them. Alright, come through. Now, Jenny, you've just asked me if they lose quills while mating, and you've just introduced a third option to what could be happening over here. So well done, Jenny. Yes, they do lose quills when they're mating, and that is exactly what could have happened over here as well. Is a slightly amorous male would have been harassing a female, and perhaps they both shed some quills in the ensuing chaos. Absolutely feasible there, Jenny. So well done on that one. But thank you very much. As usual, you know, everyone's comments and their insights are very, very valued. Now, James just asked me how water dependent are porcupine. Not really. They feed a lot on grass rhizomes and on tubers. And as you may have seen last week Monday, there's a lot of tubers out here, a lot of bulbs underneath the ground. Porcupine are very good at finding them, and they got a lot of moisture in them. So although they are water dependent, they have to drink. They are also arid area or dry area specialists. And so porcupine are one of those animals that we find across the width of Africa, from the very big deserts to very near the jungles. They occupy a very wide range of habitats, and it's because they're so good at finding water. So yes, they are water dependent. No, they are not surface water dependent, and so they can make do when there's no surface water. They'll be able to find themselves water relatively easily. We'll do porcupines. I'm still looking for my sneezewood tree. I've come to an area where we've got a bit of a crossroads in front of us, yeah, on a game path. I need to get to the drainage line that goes to Buffelshoek Dam, and I know of a massive sneezewood tree that grows inside that particular area, and I'm hoping that I can get there before the end of the show, or find another one in the same drainage line, one of that particular tree's progeny, and hopefully I can find some sneezewood sawdust. Now, what we're going to do while I'm busy bashing my way through the bush over here is send you over to Brent, who's got an update.
Now we found a second set of leopard tracks for, I'm guessing, Nkanyeni. But literally we could see 3 steps, and then the road is so hard they disappear. So we're pretty much playing the hit and hope game at the moment, judging on past behavior, what I've seen her do in the past, where I've seen her in the past. I'm searching these areas. There's also a good chance that quarantine is also in these areas. Now, of course, Nkanyeni's name means marula tree. So she's very fond of climbing marulas. So I'm just checking some of the big marulas a little bit distant from the road. There's something in the one at the back. It could just be the way the branches are. Nope, nothing. So I'm keeping a really close lookout. Oh, and the flies are out in absolute full force. Normally they sit on your back and just get covered in them. Where are all these leopards? At least we know where Karula is and we know where Tingana is. There we go. The little bird on the branch. He's calling. There we go. Oh, off it went. It's a cinnamon-breasted bunting, as one of our all-time favorite viewers used to call it, a cinnamon bun bird. There's been a lot of sign of elephants and stuff on Cheetah Plains, but we haven't seen any yet. Come on, Quarantino and Kanyeni, make our morning. And of course, this really long grass does make it quite tough as well. I don't even want to look behind me in case she's not, because we're right on the northern boundary. Now, we're going to keep searching. Hopefully our luck changes. And let's go see how James's search for interesting creatures around his tent is going.
There's an enormous fly in here that looks terrifying. I was trying to capture it. But it was wily and it saw me coming. But it has not seen David behind me. I've got him. We'll be very gentle with our fly. I hope it doesn't bite. Probably will. Probably take my head off. It'll be so cross with me. And there was another bright red bug that went flying in here. And I just want to see if I can't flush it while we're standing here before we take our fly inside. He's Maphis. This is a Maphis fly, everybody. Come, let's go inside and see if we can't get him on the microscope. Rena, basically, yes, there are. Actually, you say there are only natural remedies that act as fly repellents. Yes, there are. The most obvious and the most commonly used, and it is absolutely still used by safari guides, but mainly by local people in rural areas. And Tandi last week was telling us that she still uses it, and that is burning elephant dung. If you burn elephant dung, especially in regions where there are tsetse flies, you find that they stay away from it. So you try and keep the smoke from giving you some kind of asphyxiation, and also so you've got to keep it sort of far enough away to stop asphyxiation, but close enough that it makes the flies go away. So that's one. Byron tried taking a plant called the Bushman's grape. I can't see one around here. There is one just outside the tent somewhere. I'll get it for you later, but it smells foul, and he rubbed it all over his skin in the hopes that it would get rid of flies, because he was told that that would happen. It didn't. He was just very smelly and full of flies when he returned home. So elephant dung is the best. Right. Please don't fly. Did you see that? Fantastic, fantastic shot there of that fly. Right. Okay, good. Well, let's go back outside and see what else we can find. I do apologize. I didn't really know how to do that without sort of making him go away. Oh well. Now, what I did find out here was a pill millipede. See if I can find it again. Again, every time one crouches over, one finds something else. Here's a very large rain locust, or crested locust. Ah, they're in flagrante delicto. Do you see that, David? I don't want to touch them. She is dragging he through the bush. He is now in a very difficult position. They're making more grasshoppers. This is fantastic. Not so much because of... How do they maintain that attachment while hopping about the place? Now, what's nice about this, apart from the fact that obviously they're making more, is that we can tell exactly how old they are. These are obviously adults, and I would have picked the one on the left as a juvenile, but it isn't. It's just male. I think it's the male. I think the female is normally the one with the bigger crest, and I think she's larger than the male. That is fantastic. Now, what will happen is eventually his spermatozoa will pass into her. She will lay eggs in the soil, and I suspect that they will not hatch. Well, they might hatch this season, but they might have to wait until next season. She knows she's being watched, you see, so she's dragging her lover along with her. She wants a bit of privacy. There we go. Everything's okay now. Remain calm. Isn't that great? It just is astounding. Every time you put your head to the ground, some amazing piece of fauna will raise itself. Now, I was just saying to David as I was walking along trying to catch that fly initially, before you came to us, I thought to myself, you know, what I did was I walked past an acacia tree and I pulled it down, and then my hand sort of brushed against a twig and it flicked it upwards, and off the twig flew a jewel beetle. Now, can you imagine how many countless numbers of insects and things must be tossed off their perches or squashed underfoot or knocked around and removed from where they're quietly minding their own business by the moving of animals through the bush? And it really is amazing that they find each other, manage to find each other to mate, manage to go back to where you left them, and in the case of Matilda the mantis, managed to ride out the storm on one particular plant. It really is survival out here. If you're a small insect, and survival to breeding makes the odds of, the sort of poor odds of getting to adulthood as a male lion or male leopard look positively rosy. 1 in 10 chance that a male cub lion will make it to adulthood and breed. Probably more like 1 in 1,000 for one of these things. So you've got 1,000, a 0.01% chance of making it to the state that you find these fantastic locusts in, which I think is just astonishing. So they will lay thousands of eggs, or probably hundreds. I'm not sure if it's thousands. Now, they make a lovely sound, these things. It's a very sort of quintessential summer sound for me. Quite harsh, but it is very pleasant, and it is made by the traditional sort of grasshopper or cricket way of stridulating. And so that means they're rubbing, they're rubbing the spines on the back legs against the wings. They definitely know they're being observed, you see. Oh, wow. All around them, ants go about their business, tiny little things, not the big ones that you were watching with Stef, those trap jaws. They're just going to find whatever they can. Perhaps a termite or two. Perhaps something like this beetle that's got itself stuck into my arm hairs, poor fellow. It's just gorgeous. Oh, don't go into the tent, chaps. You don't want to be there. I think I'm going to have to go and find out a little bit more about the rain locust and tell you how many eggs they lay, if anyone's managed to find out. I wonder if they have. And then perhaps where they make it through the winter. I'm assuming it's under the ground. I'm 99% sure that that's where it is. But I wonder if these ones won't be born before the end of the winter. And if they are born before the end of the winter, well, they've probably got about 2 months before it gets too cold and dry for them to manage to survive. What did I say, 2 months? March and April? Well, 2.5 months. Right, everybody, we're going to go off to a short break now. We're still searching for the royal family. Hopefully we'll have them with these grasshoppers when you come back. Still, obviously here. The royal family went south. What a beastly, beastly thing for them to do the day before a television show. That does not bode well, I must say. But the lions are back. Right, I'm most pleased to tell you that Stefan Winterboer has managed to find himself some Pterozygium obliquum. I'm fascinated to know what a delicious sneeze sounds like.
We found our sneezewood tree. Now, one of the reasons why we haven't been able to just haul one out of the bush is that the sneezewood trees here are very, very rare. And the reason for that is that they were harvested almost to extinction for their wood, which is of the finest quality. I have read recent books that say it is the finest quality wood that South Africa produces, is the wood from this tree. And so you really only find prime examples of this particular tree in the game reserves and in the wilderness areas like the Kruger National Park. But it has given us the opportunity to go through and experiment with you. Now, I suppose the best place to get sawdust is going to be from a from a branch. It's an incredibly hard wood, okay, which is at the moment resisting any and all efforts to try and break. Watch out there, Mr. Genre. Let's see if we can bend this over. Now, the reason why I'm using an elephant damaged piece is because I don't really want to have to sawdust a live one, but let's see what quality the wood is here. This might be a bit old, but you can see that lovely yellow color of even this dead stump. Incredibly hard wood, but obviously not borer proof, because that is all those little holes that I'm uncovering are wood borers. So there's the wood, lovely yellow color as you can see there. Now the trick is to try and get some sawdust. So that's not going to work. Alright, so why don't we go and have a look at some warthogs with Jamie while I get myself some sawdust. You'll be back soon.
Oh, I don't know why Stef's so desperate to make himself sneeze. I've been managing quite well on my own this morning. But we have arrived at a beautiful family of warthog. Hello, little ones. The babies barely visible above the grass. There's 2 adult females and about 7 little piglets as they wander along through the grass. Sorry, I'm still amused by the slight misunderstanding that we had due to the similarity of sneezewood and the way that it sounds a little bit distorted on the radio. It sounds a little bit like Clint Eastwood, and I've got this image in my mind of Stef encountering Clint Eastwood in his cowboy hat on his walk, just randomly in the middle of the bush, and it's kept me thoroughly entertained for the last few moments. Oh, little biggie wiggies, you are not being obliging this morning. They went to the market. What about the ones that stayed at home? None of them stayed at home, VM. And that little one's crying wee 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 all the way home. Oh, no. What are the other ones? It's this little piggy. Where is it now? There. This little piggy went to market. This little piggy stayed at home. This little piggy had something and the other little piggy had none. What was the something? Had roast beef. That's a bit disturbing. Why was the piggy eating roast beef? Although I suppose pigs can be relatively omnivorous, and I've seen warthogs regularly scavenging off carcasses, bush pigs as well. So just like our normal pigs, they do have a particularly powerful, potent digestive systems, and they will eat a variety of things, even if, despite what the Lion King may have taught you, their diet does not consist of eating grubs, but rather bulbs and roots and shoots, and they're essentially herbivores. But there's even a report, there was one soft report, I mean, I don't know what caused it or what was happening in that particular warthog's day. There was a report of a warthog actively hunting down and killing a baby impala, which is also for some reason, quite a disturbing thought. All right. Oh, it seems as though our pigs are not playing ball, much like our hyenas this morning. Let's go back to Stef and Clint Eastwood.
All right, you're back with Clint Eastwood and my sneezewood tree, as VM was just a bit confused with what we're actually doing here. But I've managed to get myself a decent amount of sneezewood sawdust now, and there it is. And let's get the last little bit off my file. And then I think, without me talking myself out of this particular thing, let us see what sneezewood snuff does. Alright, a generous pinch in the fingers, and so no noticeable burn. A little bit of heat coming from the inside of my nasal passage at the moment. Nothing else much. I'm not needing to sneeze at the moment. It's not generating anything except a nice different taste post-nasal drip, which I have at the moment. So no, nothing noticeable just yet. Could it be the fact that the volatile oils in this particular stump have managed to evaporate or to be used? Quite possibly. Although the phenomenon of sneezing, where this tree gets its name from, is from carpenters that used to work this particular type of wood. Okay, so now the burn in my left nostril is increasing in ferocity, for lack of a better word. Still isn't introducing any sort of sneezing effect. I'm not wanting to sneeze. Definitely not a delicious sneeze at the moment. So the sneeze effect used to come from the fact that the sawdust in these carpentry shops where this particular wood used to be used had that oil in, that volatile oil, and that used to be breathed in the air, and it was a common thing for the carpenters in carpentry shops that worked with sneezewood to sneeze, and that's where it gets its common name from, the sneezewood. So the burn now is increased to sort of having sniffed up a handful of mild curry powder. Still hasn't introduced any sneezing effect, but you might notice a few tears coming out of my left eye as the burn increases to a point where I think I'm going to have to flush my nostril with a little bit of water after we finish here with you. But still no sneezing. Yeah. Can't say that I'm having delicious sneezes whatsoever at the moment, to be quite honest with you. A mild disappointment there, all the effort. But I'll tell you what, we'll find a bigger sneezewood tree with a bigger piece of wood, and we'll do it again at some other point with a more robust piece of sneezewood, not a baby one like this. All right, you're off to James in the tent. We'll catch up with you if and when I start sneezing again.
Sorry everybody, I was slightly unprepared for that. My earpiece fell out. We were trying to set up a gag. We want to try this. We'll give you a preview of what we're going to do. I want to give you an impression as to what it's like to be a warthog. We've been talking about warthogs and the fact that they're hunting down impala in some parts of the world. And, well, we're going to do it in amongst the grass here. And what I need is a stout stick. Right, perhaps this one. This is quite a stout stick, David. Is this one better, do you think? Right, so I'm going to break this off, and you wait over there for me, everyone. And what I need to do here is now attach it to my leg at an angle like this. I must just tell you that I've done this once before today, just to attempt it. And what has happened, of course, is that it has torn the hairs off the bottom of my ankle. That was very sore indeed. It's going to do it again. But I'm going to be brave and, push through it for the point of the show. There we go. Nice. That's the sort of idea we want. You have no idea what I'm doing, do you, everybody? I don't blame you. Now, I'm almost rendered immobile. Hang on a second, it's stuck on my ankle joint. There, that's what we want. That's the angle we wanted at, David. 1 second, everyone. We're definitely not going to be doing this on TV. I'll tell you that for free. Right. Okay. Now, we were talking about warthogs, and we were talking about the fact, of course, that they have to go through this very thick grass. And it must be so difficult for them to see each other. But David, you know what they do when they can't see each other? They do this. They put their tails up, and then they're able to see each other as they move through the bush. I think it's a rather clever idea, don't you? And that is... I think this gag needs a bit of work, perhaps. But you get the general idea. And, I mean, I'm trying to put a positive spin on what was a bit of a failure. The positive spin on it, of course, is that if you are a warthog, or, in fact, if you're anything that is shorter than us, you've got to walk through the bush like this. Now, in summer, that presents something of a challenge because it's actually quite difficult to see what's going on around you. You cannot see above this level. If you're a monkey, you might do this sort of thing and you sit up and then you go down, you sit up. But if you're a human being, of course, you don't have to do that. And they reckon it's one of the major selective pressures that made us actually stand up, that made us bipedal. So, 2 major reasons. Let me get this off my leg. I'm probably going to swear when it comes off my hair. It's off. My boot has fallen apart. That was an absolute failure. If you're a human being, of course, if you're bipedal, you can see over the top of the grass and you can see into the distance. And you also, of course, are not exposed to as much of the sun as you would be if you were on your hands and knees. But you might ask yourself, why don't more animals move around on 2 feet then? And the answer would be because it comes with a tremendous cost. You're slower, obviously. We can move for greater distances than just about any other animal in the world. Yes, that is true. You as a human being are physically capable of moving greater distances than just about any other animal in the world. And I think that's quite something. But also, the other cost is, apart from sacrificing speed, of course, is that the birth canal now has to come through the hips as opposed to out the back of them. And that makes birth extremely dangerous combined with our big heads. So that's the sacrifice we've paid for being bipedal, able to see the predators coming and able to expose ourselves to less sun. Stef has found some more creatures that have been caught in flagrante delicto.
Look at what we've got for you here. This is something that I've never seen before. It is, for lack of a... No, I'm not going to say what I was going to say. Basically, what you're having a look at over here is a female mantid with 3 male mantids on top of her, all trying to vie for the mating rights with this particular female. Now, why this is weird is that praying mantises have the reputation for eating their lovers. In other words, the male that gets it right to actually copulate with this particular female, quite often in the act of copulation will sacrifice his head and his life to get it right. Now, what you're looking at now, I've never seen before. I've heard it described in books, and I've definitely seen pictures of it, but not like this. I always thought that it was one male on a female mantis and then she tries to eat him if he's not too careful. But you're clearly seeing 3 males on top of that darker green female there. Isn't that incredible? For those of you with your fingers ready on your screenshot buttons, take it and add it to your weird and unusual folder, as you're not likely to see this again very soon. This is a very special sighting. Very special sighting for me in that it's opened up a window. You all know insects do compete with one another, and they definitely compete for mating rights, but obviously in praying mantises to the detriment of one of them. But as you can see, these are 3 males vying for the attention of that female. Very, very special. All right, why don't we send you on to Brent, who's got something to show you that I didn't quite catch there.
Hello, hello, look, lovely little herd of Ellies. Oh, Brian, quickly. There's one having a roll around in the drain, in the mitre drain. Oh, it looks like he's having the best time. Oh, isn't that wonderful? A lovely bit of Ellie action. Oh. He's tired, having a snooze. So, you really only see juveniles and young elephants playing like this on their sides. It's a bit more difficult for the big ones as they struggle to get up a little bit. It looks like it's, oh no, rollover time. Oh, right next to us. The others are doing it a bit closer to us now. And you see they're using that little slope. Oh, it's climbing over. All the sub-adults and juveniles are having the most wonderful time. Lots of food around, great weather for fun and games. Oh, it's tough life being an elephant. Well, sometimes it is, but definitely not this morning, and definitely not if you're a teenager or younger. Oh, there we go, climbing on top. They're just playing at the moment. Is this wonderful? Right, can you get on top? There we go, success. Oh, here comes trouble. That was the one who was rolling around in the drain earlier. Oh, back down on the knees. Sometimes elephants are just the most wonderful thing when they're in these playful moods. Very undignified position by the one on the right. Oh, the little one trying to get involved with the bigger ones. Oh, it is so fun when we find the Ellies in this type of mood. Oh, slipping off. Oh, let's put my face into the dirt. Isn't this just incredible? An elephant wrestling slash a wrestling match slash samba party. siblings, cousins, all having the best time. Oh, here comes trouble again. Let's see if they can ignite. Oh, there we go. It's quite incredible how no one really gets too hurt. Oh, look at this. Oh, it seems that the wrestling's calmed down a bit. Now, it's not uncommon to find some sub-adult elephants like this, and they might even sleep for a couple of hours on their side. So the adults will sometimes, but they find it quite difficult to get up. Sorry guys, 1 second. How's it for? Is Kurula on Little Gari or vessels? She got Nyama. Lutu Nyama. Thanks very much. Cheers. So just getting a last update on where the royal family is. And while we leave these elephants to absolutely enjoy their morning mayhem, we are going to say goodbye. So from the Killer Bees and the rest of the Safari Live crew, we will see you tomorrow morning, and I'm just going to keep quiet and let you enjoy these elephants.